Hello everyone, I'm Haunted Picnic, and this video is maybe a bit more of a casual one, I was thinking, but I wanted to talk about, because I've been thinking about it, the effects, the exposure, and the infection methods of the fester within the world of Eucrasia. For those of you who may be new, this is the first video. Good luck, because this is going to get weird. Essentially, Eucrasia is a world-building project that I'm doing in collaboration with artist Nasha Toby that is creating a world based on a planet that is alive, made of meat, and the creatures, people, factions, cultures, and effects of things on that world. The Fester is the most current age event that has affected this world. So there's 4 factions in this world. It's based off the 4 humors, and the Fester is a plague that is originating from essentially the core of the earth and spilling outwards. That was the setting that I kind of wanted to explore because it's sort of medieval, it's like the bubonic plague, but different. And how do people on a living meat planet function? How do they react to infection? So, let's talk about it. Exposure and infection. The Fester. The catalyst for the Fester and its sickness is unknown, but over the brief ages that have passed since its arrival, study and the grotesque, undeniable effects of its insidious spread have taught the people of Eucrasia much. Mostly about the fear that it demands. The clearest way the Fester spreads is by direct contact with those infected or being within close proximity to the wound itself, the center of the world where all things originate. Exposure to festered can cause lethargy, nausea, and waves of depression, where direct physical contact has a high chance of the infection spreading. It is not uncommon for those who treat, hopeless as it is, the festered, to be spared the rot themselves. But these people will still suffer the effects of exposure to an immense degree, and only the most stout of mind and body can endure lengthy periods despite the risk of infection. The fester, beyond the infection event itself, is what the effects of the infection are called. Those suffering are known as festered, tainted, or mortem horti, death gardens, as their bodies become host to this horrific plague that not only ails the individual, but can change them in ways unseen by even the progenitors of the world. These changes follow certain patterns, bearing similarities in symptoms, but as the infection progresses further, the effects on the body can alter wildly between those tainted and are much harder to predict. These are the stages. Stage 1. Imbalance. The being has poorer motor control, becoming clumsy, sight alters from blurry to clear at random. This potentially being caused by the fluids within the body changing consistency slowly over time. Coagulation causes sluggish movements, followed by sudden thinning causing dizziness. Limbs become harder or softer. The changes are subtle and slow, but to those familiar with the affected, cause for concern. Stage 2. Decay. The fester is now thriving, and visible signs of the rot are noticeable, symptoms of dark veins, flesh, or a thin crust developing on more moisture-based beings, like the choleric or the phlegmat. Ligaments are now beginning to atrophy, and the festered's mind is starting to change. Thoughts are harder to hold on to, speech is slurred in places, but they still possess the keen knowledge of their coming change. This also causes an impressionable state where they are more susceptible to influence from others. Exposure effects to those around them are also now felt, and the individual at stage 2 are at their most infectious. Stage 3. The shift. A sudden drastic change in the afflicted. The shift, a term given by the general plasmoid and cellular populace, is when a fested individual, who's usually forcefully isolated or banished to outer regions of their homes, or some cases hidden, change entirely. Their mental state, personality, physiology, and behavior shift to a completely different state of being. It is at this stage where the unpredictability of how the fester manifests becomes apparent. Some become mindless corpus, shuffling about in a walking slumber. Others become heretical zealots, convinced they are ordained by this new entity to spread its will across Eucrasia. The body is now sallow, greyish, and the flesh is always supple, oozing black liquid when damaged or broken. This softening is theorized to be in preparation for the next stage. Stage 3 is where most fester cultists exist, at the precipice between sentient zealotry and transformative ascension. Stage 4. Mutation. This stage comes to all festered at some point in their doomed decay, with some relishing and others completely lost. These mutations vary in severity, but all reflect where and what the festered had been doing during its previous stage. A more mentally sound heretic who preached the rotting tide from the seclusion of an enamel cavern may develop rotten eye stalks to better see in the dark, and sharp claws where none existed to carve putrescent symbols upon the walls. A lost, empty vessel of a fester, whose mind is a void, will have their walking cadaver utilized as a bloat chamber to house dark grey mist that surrounds the areas of the wound. It expels thick plumes of burning bacteria that cloud your vision and eat your flesh. These mutations do not always benefit the host. It is more they serve whatever goal this loveless plague demands. These mutants are powerful carriers, relentless and pitiable, their most worrying trait. Their pain causes pain in those who purge them, without the will to bear it. Stage 5. Paracetum. This is only within the most recent age, and whether it can be attributed as a stage precisely is hard to say. But the most worrying of all appears to be the Paracetum, what can only be described as a byproduct of the fester, as opposed to a direct result. Paracetum is the intermingling symbiosis of a mutated animal and a mutated cellular being. At some point, a lowly creature of Eucrasia has reached stage 4 of the fester and mutated into a slithering-like parasite, able to enter the prime-yielding flesh of the festered cellular being, who is currently in stage 3 or 4 of the taint. This mutated creature lives with the new festered host and seems to both control and coexist with them at moments. Some autonomy is left to the host at times, whereas others it is taken away, mostly to preserve the Paracetum lifeform. These creatures do not act on behalf of the fester, which is one of their primary defining behavioral features. The reverting of motivation from spread and infection to self-preservation grants the silver lining that this stage or condition event means the infected do not cause as much exposure or act with spreading infection in mind. These creatures, these things, this stage, is instead driven by hunger and the desire to live. This results in the parasite creature trying to act as limbs should the rot have taken them from the host, or vice versa, the parasite sometimes causing the host to regain some mental acuity, which is for better or worse in the host. The fact the Paracetum being can exist within the festered body without itself succumbing to its negative effects, though reminded that this is a byproduct of the fester, of course, is still a fascinating thing and may hold certain secrets to prevention or medical defenses against the plague. Capture, however, of a Paracetum is extremely risky, left only for the purgatories, as are all the world's foulest duties. And that's kind of the rundown of the stages and basic idea of infection of the Festa that I have so far. So, the idea is that the longer a fested individual is left, the more powerful or grotesque and impactful their infection becomes. And early stages like 1 and 2 could be seen but could potentially be overlooked. And I'm thinking that all these stages have been found. I haven't really done too much in the parasite area. That was more, I like the idea of parasites, but I don't want that to necessarily be entirely attached to the Festa thing. But I don't know, what do you guys think? I haven't thought entirely about certain mutations. This could also have applications for TTRPG stuff. I would love to actually have characters be able to be fested. I actually ran a playtest recently, and one character actually, I tried to describe essentially an enormous maggot full of this grayish black smog, and they punctured the hell out of it, and it sort of spooled everywhere. So then I had this timed event that every round, this black ichor is spreading, and anyway, long story short, he fell into it. And so these mutations, I feel like in a way they would be more related to the circumstances, but in this instance I had his eyes replaced with noses. So now he could only smell, which was particularly funny because I think he was exploring this cavernous sort of area in the hopes to reinstate and gain partial ownership of a capillary vineyard in this small town. And I won't get too much into it, but yes, that is also I like the idea that there is this through line, this sort of vague rule stage setup of how the Festa goes over time and infection. But I also like the idea that it is quite transformative in a variety of ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be hard in stone that then their eyes go da 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 da. I like he just has noses now, so he can only smell. Anyway, rambling aside, that's just an audio vid. I will just tag in at the end as well. Feels like mention, I'll make an official post about it as well, but I will be away on family related stuff for most of July, so I'm going to try and get some videos up. They might be different, they might be audio like this, but hopefully longer form ones to kind of that you can enjoy in my absence, and then I'll be right back into it, and I've got some things planned, so I'm looking forward to that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this rambling thing. If you have any thoughts or ideas about the Festa, about the stages of infection, methods of infection, let me know, and I'll speak to you guys all later. I've been Haunted Picnic. I'll see you next time.